Right. I guess it's now time we can start. So I welcome you to this webinar where we're going to share and discuss about university education, how you can do well at university when you go to university. This is in particular for Malawian students who have recently been selected to study at various public universities, including those who are already on campus, if they want to also learn how to excel in education at campus. And we're going to cover 5 areas, ranging from academics to how you can grow socially, your networks on campus, how you can grow as a leader, and so forth, which I'll come to that. But also just to share that I've done this because I do know that this year the selection rate has been high. Basically, there were about 13,000 students that applied for places at public universities, and out of those, 6,500 approximately were selected. So basically, 1 in every 2 students that applied for places at public universities in Malawi were selected. There's a lot of hype. Everybody's happy. The uncles, the mothers, the fathers, and even the brothers and sisters, nephews and nieces. However, we also do know from experience that when you have a lot of students going to university, the rate of students also being withdrawn on academic grounds goes up. So I don't want you to fall fed to that. The good news is that the public universities do not limit the number of students that should be there. So once, even if in the class all of you make it, then all of you get selected, or you continue with your studies. So we want to maximize the number of you that can go all the way until you graduate, but also that when you come out of the various universities, you be a very fine product that is ready for market, and that you excel in the market. Because another challenge we see in Malawi is that population is growing very fast. Right now, as we know, in Malawi, we are probably around 19 million people or so. And going forward, we'll be growing our population by about 1 million every year. So when you graduate in 2024, the population in Malawi is likely to be about 24 million people. There'll be lots of people without jobs. You've already seen the stampede at Katoto Secondary School today. Many injured, somewhere feared been dead, but I think it's been confirmed nobody has died. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, showing that in Malawi unemployment rates are very high. And that's why we're going to also to talk about how you build yourself as an entrepreneur as well. So on the screen there, you can see the outline. There are 5 areas. Firstly, we're going to talk about academic excellence, because that's your primary goal at university. In there, we're going to look at how you can excel as a student, and also I'll share with you my highs and lows as a student. I did well in general, but I had low points also as an academic or as a scholar. Second, they'll look at the social networking. How can you make the best of your time on campus to build the networks that will help you in the future when you graduate? And then thirdly, we are going to look at how you build yourself as a leader, because I'm going to argue here that as long as you're a graduate, by default, you are a leader, like it or not, because you'll not be at the bottom of the pyramid anymore. So in your own field, you'll be a leader. Even if you're a teacher, you'll be head teacher one day or head of department. If you're a surveyor, you'll be leading the surveying section or department in your company. If you're an accountant, one day you'll become finance manager or finance director, and so forth. Even in art, you become chief artist or anything like that, or maybe marketing director or sales director. And then we'll look fourthly on the importance of developing your communication, both written and oral, as a way of boosting your self-confidence to become competitive on the market. And then beyond that, we are going to look at emotional intelligence, because you probably have heard that there are times people graduate from university, they are got a distinction. They were top of the class all the time. They go in industry, they don't cut it. They are not the best. They are ruled actually or governed by people who are average in university. Why is that? It's because they did not build their emotional intelligence. So we are going to spend a little bit of time on emotional intelligence as well. Now, number one is the academic excellence. Here, I will share with you three ways in which you can build and boost and optimize your academic excellence so that you shine as a student. Uh, First is that you need to have a goal in mind when you go to university. To say, by the end of my 4 years or 5 years degree, in terms of academics, what do I want to achieve? Do I want to graduate as top of the class, number one in my class? Or perhaps one of the thresholds by most of the top global employers is top 10%. So if in a class there are 100 students in maybe philosophy, you want to be top 10 maybe. Or maybe you say, I want to get a distinction. So it doesn't matter whether you're number 5 or 6, but you want a distinction. Or perhaps you want a credit. You cannot be going to university aiming at just getting a pass. Let it be that maybe it hasn't worked, but as you are going to university, you need to be ambitious, you need to be driven. You have seen adverts for CEOs or top directors in companies and organizations, even the vice chancellor. They will say, we want a highly motivated and ambitious individual to fill this position, because they want the highly ambitious and driven people to run organizations. So you have got to have the ambition and desire to do well. So what is your goal? You need to set out right from the beginning. I want to do this. In my case, I set out my goal very clearly. I want to graduate with distinction. And so that's why at the end of 5 years, I was able to graduate with distinction on top of my class, because that was my goal. And you need to create your own goal as well. The second thing is you need to have a winning strategy. My experience in university was that there were a lot of brilliant students, but some of them were not top of the class because they did not have the winning strategy. For example, there were some who would score, maybe they have 7 courses. In 4 courses, they get good distinctions. And in the other 2, they get some average credits. And then one of them, they get a very low mark. It means the average mark will not be that good. While another person will average out, even out, make sure that out of the 7, maybe 6 are good distinctions and 1 is a high credit, then that person becomes top of the class. So you need to have your winning strategy. I also remember that there were times in exams where in engineering mostly we would be given 8 questions to choose 5. It means each of the 5 questions had 20 marks, making 100 marks. There are times when I was writing exams which were very, very tough and you needed to be really accurate with very complex mathematics, for example, in power and machines. Then I would say, rather than rushing through all the 5 questions, I'll go in slow mode to make sure that the 4 questions, I get them very right. And then in the last 15 minutes of the 3-hour paper, I quickly wrote some of the key elements of the 5th question. That way, the 4 questions, which are total of 80 marks, I would maximize the marks from the 80, and then I'll get a little bit of the 20, and then have a very high grade. Not that this applies to all situations. All I'm saying is study your situation. In law, it might be different. In medicine, it might be different. In philosophy, it might be different. In agriculture, it might be different. Nursing might be different. All I'm saying is when you go there, study the terrain, study your courses, and then find a way of finding your winning strategy. The other important thing there on the winning strategy is that you need to mind your own game. I'll give 2 examples there. First of all is at the poly there, we used to study in the library, but also we could study in the lecture rooms, and there were levels 1, and then you go 2nd floor, 3rd floor, and 4th floor, etc. There was a friend who would joke to me, would say, what I'll do is I'll fool the other guys. As they were studying, then he will around 9 o'clock, he'll move down from the 5th floor and says, I'm tired, I'm going home to my room to sleep. And then, but he'll just go down 1 level. Then other people would think, oh, yeah, it's time to go and sleep. Then not knowing that he has just gone 1 level down and they are going to their hostels. Then you stay downstairs there for about 15 minutes, and then he says, I'm going to my room to sleep. And then he kept on getting people out of their study until the ground floor. And then he would go to the room, stay for about 10, 15 minutes. He would say, all of them are asleep, let me go back and study now. So he basically tricked them. So you need to have your own game plan. Similarly, with the Dr. Charles Chivundo lecturer at Luana Bunda, he was my roommate from third year to fifth year at the Poly. And with time, we'd been together in the seminary. He was a class behind me, and he was top of his class, and I was top of my class. We discovered with time that we were very different, although we were both excelling in academics. For example, he would do well by studying at the very beginning of the semester because he would remember better things that he read long ago. So he'd prepare for his exams at the beginning of the semester. And towards the exam time, he didn't need to study because that's how he's wired. For me, it was different. I could play at the beginning of the semester and then maximize the last 3-4 weeks of the semester and do extremely well. We were that different. Similarly, he could study much longer in the night before he sleeps, but once he sleeps, he doesn't wake up and study. I was the opposite. By 9:30, my mind cannot study anymore. I need to play and then maybe 10:30 sleep. But my best time for study was 3:30 in the morning to about 6 o'clock in the morning. So do not go by other people's agenda. Determine what works best for you and go by that. Number 3, elevated effort. You know that people sometimes will argue that somebody is naturally intelligent and all that. That works in primary and secondary school. You could go in a class, listen, and then you know the stuff, you pass your number 1 in class. That will not work in university because mostly the fact that in university lectures will just give you a summary they'll give you a summary of what they're teaching in that course or even that topic. They expect you to go to the library, or in this case, these days, sometimes even on your ebooks, to now expound on what they taught you. They may have taught you 3 or 4 elements of analysis or reasons, but you'll be expected to go deeper in the exam, to expound even further. So by reading 1 or 2 reference books that the lecturers will give you, you will have the impetus to do well. In fact, some of the lecturers would even tell us to say, if you master exactly what I've taught you in the lecture, if you know it all, then it guarantees you of a basic pass, just that you pass the exam, not to get a credit, let alone a distinction. So you need to know this, that in university, you need to exert a lot more effort because the stuff that is given in the lecture room is only a sketch or an introduction or a framework to allow you to understand things better. And I understood this principle much more when now I went to Oxford, where I was doing my PhD. I discovered that I used to go to bed around 11 p.m., 11:30, because I used to go, that's the time I used to go to bed in Malawi. And I would discover that when I wake up in the morning around 4 a.m., 5 a.m., I would see a lot of emails written by students, written around 2 a.m. And 1 a.m. In fact, when I was going to bed around 11, 12, all the rooms would have their lights on, meaning students were still actively studying. In the morning, I would see all these emails around 2 o'clock. That's the time they were stopping studying. So if Oxford, which is one of the top 5 universities in the world, everybody was working extremely hard, it means that in university, forget this ideology that being naturally intelligent is enough. It is not enough. You need to also exert a lot of effort. I do not remember seeing anybody at the Poly that got a distinction without working hard. It's not possible. I know there were some who would work hard but hide and pretend that they were not working hard, but they all did work hard. So even if you want your credit, whatever grade you want, you need to maximize your hard work. Now I move to social networking. This is about building your character. You need to come out of your cocoon. Do not come out of university just as a scholar that is academic who has memorized stuff and passed exams. You want to come out as a refined product that is ready for the market. You want to come out of university as a character, a figure with authority that can command. As I mentioned earlier on, as a graduate, you will be basically a leader in your own field. And so you need to remember this. You need to learn beyond the lecture room, because learning is a holistic enterprise. It's not just classroom. You need to also interact with your colleagues over there, so that you build the networks that you need tomorrow. Because as a graduate, you need also the networks in industry to do well. I'll share an example of Bill Clinton, who was president of the USA. He was a Rhodes Scholar in Oxford, I think, in the early 1970s or thereabouts. The story is told that when he finished his studies at Oxford, and a week before the examinations, his classmates were busy preparing for his examinations. Bill Clinton was busy just going around the classroom, getting their names and contacts, and went to America. He did not write the examination because for him, he had learned enough, and what he wanted really was the contacts that would help him to do well, and he did well. He became president of the USA anyway. So this is just to show that building contacts at campus is very important, because in industry there are times where you are working on a project, for example, and maybe you need the ESCOM to connect power to your factory, and it's taking long and long and long. You may have studied marketing at the Poly, or journalism indeed, but somebody who is your neighbor in the hostel who is an engineer at ESCOM, and you'd call him, and suddenly power connection, which was taking months, would quickly be done. So this is just an example out of many. The contacts that you make in college, at Chancellor College or Luana or MAST, these are contacts that will help you even to find jobs, to find opportunities. If you're doing business, for example, they will connect you. And then number three is that by social networking, you grow your what is called networking quotient. This is the quotient that gives you the power of referrals. This is what gives you the ability to grow your goodwill. And because in life you do need ambassadors. These are people that will vote for you. These are people that will put through opportunities for you to explore. And now let's look at how you grow your networking quotient. There are 5 ways in which you can grow your networking quotient. One is by looking at how many people in total do you have in your social networks. You need to know who are my key friends that I can rely on. And then secondly, it's not just how many, but the quality of those social networks. Are they very strong networks or not? And then to what extent are you actually actively building more and more new networks? And what is the strength of relationship with your members? Are you very strong? Are these people you can call, you're stuck on the road and they'll come and help you out or not? So you need to be sure that these contacts that I have are actually very strong. And then how actively are you recruiting new members? Because you cannot just have the same network. It needs to be expanding over time. Your neighbors, your classmates, the people that you went to school with, people from other places. That's why it's important to go to campus, because you're going to meet new people. You may have come from Likuni Boys. So the people you know really are from Likuni Boys Secondary School. But when you go to MAST now, you meet people from other schools in Sanchez Secondary School, Mlanji Secondary School, and all over the country. So it's a big opportunity to know more and more people that you can. But then also number 4 there, you need to remember that the networking should be reciprocal. You need to not only benefit from them, but also you need to give. You need also to do your part. It can't be one way. So you need to therefore invest in networking. You need to spend time on this, because you need also to help. They need to also count that they can help you. There's a saying that build today, build the networks that you need tomorrow. And therefore, to build, you need to be able to invest time, and you need to help the other people as well. And then I put here 7 of the things that you can do to become a winning character, or to be a likable character. And one of them is charisma. Try to have the kind of energy that politicians try to disseminate when they're voting for votes. Right now is the campaign time. All of them, they want our votes. They have positive energy. They have charisma. So while at campus, they are students, try to build your charisma, because in life, let me tell you, you don't always get what you deserve. Most of the times, you get what you fight for. So build the character and charisma that will help you to get what you fight for. And then number 2 is oration. Not all of us can be orators like Barack Obama, but do your part to learn a little bit of being able to make a compelling proposal. You'll be working as a marketing officer, later on as a marketing manager. You have to make a proposal that is compelling with a little bit of spicing of oration, so that they can buy your idea. Even when you're pitching for a job in the interview, you need a little bit of the positive energy. And then the third one is the people skills in general. There are people who will say, no, that one is just technical. He can't relate with people. He doesn't have the soft skills. So you need on campus to build the soft skills that will help you to really go beyond academics. And then number 4 is expansive people networks, which we talked about already in terms of networking. And then number 5 is a little sense of humor. I remember I met a friend 10 years after graduating. And then he said to me, "You are a different person." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "On campus, you were not at all humorous, but now you are a little more humorous." So I found that interesting. But even humor can be learned. There are ways about it. We'll talk about them. But you can join Toastmasters clubs after leaving college. But even on college, I just have fun during your fun time. And then number 3 is simplicity. Be a simple and humble person. A lot of people in college, some of you maybe come from well-doing families. Some of them are a bit disadvantaged. Reach out to different people. You'll be surprised. He'll be the person giving you the job 10 years after graduating. So be simple and work with everybody. It's very important. And then beyond simplicity, it is about taking risks. While on campus, learn to take some risks. And we'll talk about this when we're talking about leadership development. But you are a young person. You have very little to lose. So try things out. Don't try the bad things or things that when the risk happens, you'll be found in jail or you contract diseases. No. Take risks that are reasonable, and risks that the gains are big. But also, if you fail, you rise because you're a student and you're young. And now I want us to look at the number 3 aspect. Remember, our 5 things that we want to look at. So then the third one is about leadership development on campus. This one is very important. When I went to the Polytechnic, University of Malawi, 1997, I'd never been a leader, really. I'd never been even a head boy or captain of anything, nothing. But today I am actually a big leader because I developed the skills on campus. I had to fight for my first leadership position, and then I proved that I am a leader. Then they gave me a bigger one, and then even a bigger one. So in second year, I competed for chairman of the Polytechnic Engineering Society. And I was voted as chairman of the Engineering Society. I worked really hard to become a very good chairman of the all engineering students on campus. Because I did well in third year, I was asked to be chairman or president of the Catholic Students Organization. Again, I did a very good job, and then I now had belief in myself that I could actually become the president of the Students' Union on campus. And so I campaigned for that, and I won with a landslide of 80% of the votes. So, and that is what built me as a leader now, because, and you can see it's a track record. I didn't just go into the union. I started with slow and going up. And even when I went to Oxford University for my PhD, in first year, I did not do any leadership because I wanted to focus. I jumped straight from my bachelor's to PhD. I didn't do a master's. I was in a foreign country. I've jumped masters. So I needed really to be sure to consolidate my academics. So first year, I didn't do anything. But second year now, when I knew I'm flying, I'm doing well, I'm settled. I went into leadership and I became, I campaigned for and won as president of the Oxford University Africa Society. I was in charge of the 100 African students on campus there. And then in the third year, I ran for president of the Oxford University Speakers Club. And then all this has helped my path become a CEO of an international organization at the age of 40, where I am at Ubuntu Net Alliance, and many other leadership positions I've had in between, because I developed as a leader on campus. You can do the same at KCN, you can do the same at Mzuni, you can do the same at Rwanda, NRC, Chancellor College, Pole, College of Medicine, KCN, and MAST, any university campus. Make sure you don't lose this chance. The 4 years should help you to build yourself as a leader. So as you can see there on the slides, I'm talking about a graduate is by default a leader in your own field, whatever field you are. Even if you do nursing, you become the matron, you become the chief nursing sister. So you got to know how to lead. So you need to build that, because you need to lead with authority. Knowledge is power. You've heard a lot of people mention that knowledge is power. When you graduate, you have a lot of knowledge, and so you will be a person of power. Whether you like it or not, you are a leader. So you need to learn the specific metrics and building blocks of leadership on campus, because you no longer be on the bottom of the pyramid. Face it, in Malawi, how much percentage are graduates? Malawi is 18 million people. How many graduates do we have? Probably maximum we have is, I don't know, 200,000 or 100. So that's far less than 10%, because 10% of 20 million people is 2 million. It means that 1% is 20,000. So it's about 1% of Malawians are graduates, 1 in 100, less than that actually. So if you're one, it means already you're leading more than 100 people proportionally. So you're a leader, accept it. So one way is to join clubs and societies, or the union, as I mentioned. I've already talked about how I built myself as a leader on campus. You could do something like that, or you could do something differently. And the third one is join church committee. If you're SDA, there'll be SDA Adventist society there, or it'll be Muslim Association of Students, or I don't know, Presbyterian. You can join CAPSO, CCAP Students Organization, or Catholic Student Organization. And you build yourself as a leader, even in church there. And then the fourth one, now this is to take it to another level. You can start your own organization. I remember at Poly with a friend, Kalua. He set up an organization, and it was thriving about environment. And even myself, after the union in 5th year, I set up an organization that was doing renewable energies, and this organization went on for about 10 years. So you are learning the skills to build something from scratch. Stretch yourself. Once you know the academics are under control, you should stretch yourself as a leader, because as a graduate, you will have to lead. I think this is very important, because when you graduate, typically within some 3 to 5 years, you already, even 5 years far, within 2-3 years, you begin to already go into positions as supervisor, and then around 3 to 5 years time, you'll be a manager. 7-10 years time, you're becoming a director, etc. So you need to build yourself as a leader. And then number 4 is communication and self-confidence. Winston Churchill was the wartime prime minister for Britain, and he had a lot of quotations that people still remember. One of them was, if you can communicate, you have amazing power and influence. Now you need to learn to communicate, because then that gives you the power. You need to have the audibility. You need to build your visibility. You need to be felt, because let's face it, the world is very competitive. So if you can communicate with power, you get more opportunities than you would if you couldn't communicate with power. So you need to learn to communicate, stand out. In the lecture rooms, when lecturers ask for any questions, you always raise your hand up. I mean, most of the times, so that you build the skill of communicating in groups, in large groups. Just wing it. We have nothing to lose. You're a student. It's not examinable to ask questions. Go to events and speak. If you know some drama, go and act. Build your character. We want you to build you as a tiger and tigress. You need to have the power, audibility and visibility. And then number two is you need to gain the ability to stand up. You have to fight for your own. As I mentioned there, because you often get not what you deserve, but what you fight for. And there've been times in my life when what I deserved I didn't get, and in the end I've been forced to sometimes fight and get what. I had to fight for what I think I deserve, and I've got it. And at times they'll say, "Well, we didn't give you because we didn't think you need it." So you have to be able to express, and sometimes you have to ask, but the other times you have to demand what belongs to you. And then number three is self-confidence is everything. You need to build your self-confidence, and people who can communicate well are able to. People who are able to communicate, they have self-confidence because you believe in yourself. You're able to express your ideas, and so this is very important. And while we're talking about this, you need to know that you need to build your communication in different facets in terms of oral communication, but also written communication. By the way, as I'm talking, you can be sending some of the questions on the chat there. And my friend here, Revelation Nyirongo, a recent graduate of Pole of 2016, is helping me out. He's taking notes of the questions that you ask. So at the end, I'll be able to deal with the questions. So you can just post them. We're seeing some of the notes there. Thanks, Stella, for your comment there. You're saying great lessons, and you're saying thanks for being with us. You're right. Humility is everything. Never complicate things. True. Naomi Mzembe, thanks for your comment as well. And Muntopa, I can't get it when you said it as a man. Oh, you think Keith? Oh, yeah, sure. All right, good quotation there. Sure. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them. We are following, and my friend the Revelation here will summarize to me, and we'll deal with them. So now we are looking at number 4, emotional intelligence. Now, I'll start with the good news. The good news is that IQ, your intelligence, the normal intelligence that we know, which makes you pass your exams, which has made you get selected to university. That IQ was hardwired by God when He created you in His own image. You cannot change it. It is constant. But of course, you can optimize your performance based on the same IQ. So that's one chapter. Emotional intelligence is something that you can boost over time. There are ways in which you can boost, and yeah, that's a good one. How did I handle failure? I'll deal with that ways. Thanks. Did I handle failure? Good question. We'll deal with that at the end. So emotional intelligence is something that you can boost, unlike the intelligence quotient that we know, IQ. This emotional intelligence is about your soft skills, not the hard skills. The hard skills are solving mathematics, drawing a graph, analysis, analyze what, analyze the Second World War. Do you think that in Malawi, our election should be 50+1 or not? All those are logical intelligence you need. That's not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is about the soft skills, like how question from Precious, things Revelation will take note of it. Yeah. It's about the soft skills, how you relate with people, how you build your relationships. It's about your personal engagement. So that's why we're emphasizing so much that on campus, it's also about your social interactions, how you interact with people, how you build your soft connections with people and the social. And then now I'll be going into the 3 or 4 elements of emotional intelligence. Before I do that, let me read out the question here from Precious. Says, "Sir, I'm an introvert. I feel that most of the concepts are very helpful, but they mostly favor extroverts as they have energy to go out and mix and build networks. Introverts are naturally private and with a few Can you please explain how introverts can fit in all this? Sorry for the long question. Good question, Precious. Let's introvert. Let's take note of introvert. I would address that. That's very true. I'm an extrovert, others are introvert. But the good news for you, Precious, there are a lot of introverts who have excelled. And I'll give you visible examples of some of the people you'll be shocked that they are introverts. Maybe, yeah, we'll talk about that. And also, when I was working for Shell, when I graduated from Oxford, I was lucky to work for Shell Europe. So I was based in Aberdeen, Scotland. I was IT coordinator covering 8 countries there, and I became president of what we call the Young IT Professionals Group. And I invited the group CEO of Shell for Europe. He was CEO of a company that had 10,000 people covering 10 countries, Tom Boats. And we were shocked when he said, you know what, I'm an introvert. But he said, I had to manage my being introvert to get to the top. He said, I'm still introvert. So, Precious, that's a good question. I'll come to that. In fact, my own son is an introvert. He's 12 years old, but I don't change him in an extrovert. But I help him as an introvert to know how to compete and behave in this very competitive world. So we'll come to that, but very good question indeed. All right, so now let's look at self-awareness. This is about knowing what you're good at and what are your gaps, what are your weaknesses. Like Precious mentioned, I like that because he knows that, okay, I'm good in some ways, but also some areas I need to find ways of closing the gaps. So here on self-awareness, I want to give a very quick example here. I've said Capitol Hill principal secretary. When I was working for Maastricht 10 years ago, with my CEO, then I was the head of technical services. We went for a meeting there at the Capitol Hill. We met we were meeting the principal secretary in one of the ministries there, Minister of Finance. And this principal secretary kept saying, no, we can't meet until my deputy comes here. We waited for 25 minutes before the meeting would start. And then at the end of the meeting, I was very interested. I was a young man. I was interested to know why he insisted that his deputy needs to be there. Then he told me, he said, no, look, I am very good at engaging stakeholders, managing meetings, and coming to agreements and negotiation. But I'm not very good at remembering what we've agreed, and I'm not very good at delivering actions. My deputy is my action doer, he said. So that was a very good eye-opener for me. And then the other one is what I put down there as mentoring testimony. There it's about one time I met a lot of people, and one time I was mentoring somebody, and this person had been in the same job for 8 years, no promotion. So I worked with him on his personality. We use I put the Myers-Briggs and Enneagram. Don't worry about them. These are tools that will help you to understand who you are. You can Google maybe tomorrow, Enneagram and Myers-Briggs. These are frameworks that categorize people in different, introvert, extrovert, and all those kind of things. So you can use those to understand what you are. Now, I helped this person I was mentoring to understand what he was, his gaps and weaknesses. And then he discovered that his personality was different from his boss. This person that I was mentoring was a perfectionist. He wanted to submit things when they are perfectly done. When his boss, all he wanted was things to be done fast, even if they're imperfect. So he now changed to meet halfway somewhere between being a little perfect and not that perfect, kind of in the middle. And the boss was very happy. Within a few months, he was promoted actually. So it was about knowing who he is. And you too, as a student, need to spend time to know who you are and then find ways of closing those gaps. The second one is self-regulation. This is about managing your emotion. It's about not acting on the first thing that comes to your mind. It's about control. It's about mental discipline. You have an idea, you think about something. Even as a student, you have exams on Monday, on Friday, you're tired, you want to drink beer, alcohol. You ask yourself, should I really drink on Monday? I have an exam. So you need self-control, self-regulation. Or somebody angers you, you want to hit him. Should I hit him? Then I'll lose my place on campus. So this is about when things happen, you need to apply a discipline of thought, the mental discipline to what you're doing. And you need to adapt to the changing environment. You can't be the same person. I've been doing a lot of these motivational talks. I've done a column in the Nation. It's called Rise and Shine on Thursdays, and it's called Real World Preparation on Sundays in the Nation. I've done it for 10 years. So I've produced more than 1,100 motivational articles in the papers. But now with COVID, we are a virtual world. So I do these things. That's why I'm doing this webinar now. I'm dynamic. So it's self-regulation also is about aligning with change. Before I move to the next one, I see there's a question there from Brian Jube. It says, please share the self-awareness analysis tools you mentioned. So maybe Revelation, you can type there Myers-Briggs and Myers-Briggs. You can check on the slides. Myers-Briggs and Enneagram. You could Google them. So my friend will type them there from the previous slide there. Can you leave a copy of your spreadsheet? When we're finished. Right. Yeah. So the PowerPoint TSA. Yeah, we should share. How can we share? Your website. On the website. Yes. Okay. So TSA, we will share the PowerPoint slides on the website. That's a good point, so that you can have the reference material. Indeed. And then I'm saying that self-awareness, Obama is a great master of this, and you see that's what made him to become president of the United States of America. And then social skill. This is about managing your relationships. You need to have healthy relationships with many. It builds on what we talked about earlier on about networking. This is about moving people in the direction that you want. And you need to build this relationship and skills on campus. That's why we talk about you going to leadership, because in leadership, you have to take your people that you are leading in a certain direction. Now you have 4 years to learn, to perfect this art of getting people in a certain direction, because in the company, you'll be the HR manager and people are resisting change. Maybe now managers will no longer have company cars. You need to explain to them, well, you need to take them in that direction, that now we just give you money, you go and buy your own car. So you need to manage, you need to learn the art and psychology of getting people into the direction that you want. And you need to do this by comfortably expanding your personal networks. The social skills are very, very important. I've met people who have said sometimes that they prefer to hire somebody who passed with a credit, but with the amazing personal and social skills, than somebody with a distinction who does not have the soft skills. So that's why I'm emphasizing a lot on this, because the academics, you guys are already stars. I know you pass, but you need to build yourself as somebody ready for the world. And then the fourth side here, and then we'll go at the last slide and we'll answer the questions, is about empathy. You need to consider people's feelings. And again, this is why we're saying on campus, you need to learn as a leader, because I remember when I was the president of the Polish Students Union, students wanted to go on strike, and we as a PSU council, we sat down, we looked at everything. We found that it was very risky, because police said they were going to shoot students. So what we did was just to check. Kate is saying internet is a problem. Is that from our end or from that side? It's from that side. It's from that side. We're sure? From my end. Right. Those who can hear us clearly, can you please just indicate that on the chat that you can hear us clearly, so that we'll be sure that we have the audience with us. Yeah, so I was president of the Students' Union. We agreed as a union that we're not going to go on strike. But some students proceeded, and they still wanted to go on strike. And when they did that, some of them were arrested by the police. When they're arrested by the police, I felt that it was not our responsibility as a union to help them. I was sticking to the gun, saying, look, that is the shauri yako, I said. Where's the thank you that you can hear us? And many others, and my brother Edward, copy there loud and clear. Thanks, Edward. I know we've talked before, and Brian Chifundo, everybody. Okay, so it's, and Washington, thank you. Good to see Washington. Washington Chimu's there has been one of the people helping us organize this together with Revelation. He's been masterminding this. So yeah, then I said we're not going to help these students who are arrested by the police because the shauri yako they did on their own. Guess what? That stand, because these students were in a police cell or prison almost. And as president of the union, I I said we will not help them out. I paid a big price for that. Students thought that I was very harsh, so some of them were moving a motion for me to be impeached. I almost got impeached as president of the Police Students Union because I felt this is not a strike that was sanctioned by me in my authority as the president. But I learned a big lesson there, that although in theory I was right, that this is not a union-run strike or protest, therefore we have nothing to do with it. I was right, but in public and in politics, that was not working. You need to show empathy. So I learned a big lesson. Luckily, I escaped the impeachment. So I was not impeached. Oh, Engineer Peter Mayer, good to see you here. So Peter Mayer is one of my mentors. He's one of the very senior engineers in Malawi, actually trustee of the Malawi Board of Engineers. And I know he's brought his grandnieces and nephews to watch along here. So good to see you, Engineer, and Leonard, Rodney, Eston, Mtuntama, Mzungu, TSA, and many more, Wisdom, and many more. So this is what I was saying. And then beyond the numbers and the formulas and policies, we need to know that people are human beings. We need to manage them as human beings. I'll give an example here where the late Dr. Chris Chawanje, she was our vice principal at the Polytechnic. And, this will sound very weird, but one student was caught going to girls' hostels and peeping at the girls taking shower, and she knew that the student would be automatically dismissed, and so I was president of the student union. She met me. She said, Matthews, if we take this through the disciplinary case, this one will be dismissed. Thanks, David Chira, for your feedback that this is inspiring. Before I continue this story, Revelation, let's take note of this suggestion that if possible we may make available the video of the webinar on our website for the sake of those encountering network challenge. It's recorded, huh? It will still be there, right?
Yes, it should be there. We'll post it there.
We'll post, Revelation will post this on good point, Precious. We will do that. And so Dr. Chawanje discussed with me that let's meet this student outside the disciplinary process. Once he agrees, he apologizes. She said, I'm a woman, I'm a mother. I'll bring the girls here. You talk with the girls. They will make peace, and we'll move on. And you will not be expelled from college. So that's what we did with my vice president of the policy institution, the late Karibara, may so rest in peace. We met the student. We discussed with him. He agreed, and then the vice principal brought the ladies there. The ladies were up in arms. No, he has to face the law and what? But she calmed them down and look at my mother also what. And she made peace and things worked, and she basically wanted to reform. She knew these are young people, and all of us are graduates and the big leaders in industry, all of us, including those who have suffered. I learned a big lesson that you don't always just use the hard fist. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of empathy. We need patience, not to always panic. And so I think that empathy is very important. My final slide, then we'll go into the questions, is about this. Now is a talk I did at the Great Hall Chancellor College sometime last year during graduation ceremony. I was asked to do a motivational speech for the students there, and I left them with the 10 commandments. I'll run very quickly. These are, I call them 10 success commandments for students and after graduating. Number 1, do not procrastinate. Do not overplan. When you have an idea, once you determine that you want to go this way, you now need to go into action mode. You need to deliver. Actually, Malawi is very poor because we are a country that are very good at planning, but we don't deliver. We don't do action. Now, I want you, the young people, to be people of action. Number 2, taking risks. We've talked about that. The world is ruled by people who take risks. You cannot go far if you only want to do things that are comfortable, things that have no risk at all. But you take calculated risks, and you even mitigate your risks. And then number 3 is don't give up easily. Pursue, be determined. You got to be resilient. Don't give up at one try. I know a friend who, after graduating, she wanted to go for studies, and she was applying for scholarship. She couldn't find scholarship until she applied for the 35th time to get it, and she got a scholarship. And I know another one. I'll mention his name now. This one, Dr. Franklin Simtowe. He was a Bunda graduate. And one time when I was doing my PhD in Oxford, then I was coming back home, and then I saw that in the aeroplane there was this gentleman who kept, moving back and forth. And I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Franklin Simto." I said, "Why are you walking around here?" He says, "Because for 5 years I was trying to get a scholarship. I've just got in out to go to Germany, and they bought me a ticket in business class. So I'm really making my maximum enjoyment of this trip because it's taken me 5 years of sweat to find a scholarship to go to Germany." And the way that did his PhD, he's a doctor, Dr. Franklin Simto. He actually is working abroad in an international organization in Nairobi. He's my friend still since that time. We met in AI 2002-03. So you don't give up easily. Thanks, James, for your comment there. This is good. This will help them to navigate the campus. How I wish we had this during our time in 2005. So, James, you must be around my generation. In 2005 is when I was finishing my postgraduate. We'll talk about my path at the end of this. And Brian Jumbe, very inspiring. Enjoyed it all the way. Thanks. Number 5, not knowing who you are. We've talked about that. You need to know your personality. Number 6, don't corner others. We talked about that. Do not just follow others. Have your game plan. What is it that you want? And then number 7, don't compete with losers. Many people spend time competing with losers. Be a person that has own game plan and doesn't compete with losers. There's a lot of losers. You want to do something that is good. They know it is good. They will discourage you. They'll tell you, do not do it. We have failed. But the fact that they failed, does it mean that you also failed? It doesn't. They say impossible is nothing, nothing is impossible. That's what you need to follow. And then don't stop learning. Keep learning all the way. And I'm sure that's why you are here. And then don't generate problems for others and even for yourself. And then number 10, don't be lazy. Work hard all the way. We've talked about elevated effort, and that's what we're talking about here. James, yes, you started at point 2005 and finished 2008. Yes, that's soon after we had left. Julius Kita, very encouraging words. Thank you. Are we planning to organize a webinar for those that are already on campus? Good question, Mari. I think we should. Revelation, we just consider that. We'll consider do something for those on campus already. David Chira, have I read any books? What books can I recommend? Yes, I've started writing a book. It should be out in the next 6 or 7 months to compile all the best of the motivational columns, articles that I've been publishing. Now, I'll now go to the questions. We'll spend the last 10 minutes on the questions. We'll be winding up by 8:05 or so. So I'll get the questions from Revelation here. If there's any 1 or 2 questions, you can still give us. Good. Yeah. We want to know, just to know the catchment here, which university you've been selected to. So if you can just post, say they are Casey and Pole or Mass or Chang, whatever, just for us to have a sample to know. If you can just indicate which campus you are going. All right. So now the questions. How do I handle failure? For me, the way I handled failure was, first of all, prevention. Franklin, worth the time, no regrets waking up so early for this, watching from South Korea. Oh, wow. Oh, that far. Thank you, Franklin. Good to hear that. Yeah, and David, very inspiring. I've benefited as most of the principles can as well be used in the industry. Absolutely, that's true. They're applicable. So how did I handle failure? First of all, when I went to college, first thing I did was to find out who were the prosperous or successful students. And one of them was Clement Nabazare Nyirenda. He was third year in my program. So I went to him to understand how he did well, how he was, just like asking how did I do well and how I dealt with failure. So I made sure that I implemented what he told me to be able to minimize failure. That's first thing. The second thing is, when I failed, first thing is I would believe that I have another chance because I'm young, I have a lot of time. So it starts with the mind, believing that I can do it. So when you fail, basically it means you're falling down. So you need to rise up. So it's just the mindset to say, I'll rise up and do it again. And in doing that, for example, I know like in the third year, I was finding electronics quite difficult as a subject, as a course. And what I did also were people were watching from Wales. Good advice, the Kilan Charter. Thank you. And about scholarship, we'll talk about David Chira. Yeah. And so when I fell, I would rise up. Electronics, I was struggling third year. What I did was to ask a friend who knew electronics very well, Bernard Mulawi Piri. He's now an engineer at ESCOM. I asked him to help me with electronics, and then he was able to help me to understand the electronics to the level where now I became very comfortable, and then I overcame that problem. But also, as students, do group studies with people who are working hard and they know what they're doing. We had a lot of group studies. I was in group studies with the Professor Chomona Mikika at Chansa College. Now he was my classmate, and we studied together. Vita Chirisano, Kumbo Kalulu, and Petro Suzani, and many others. So group studies are a very powerful tool for dealing with your failures. If you're struggling with subject, don't leave it to yourself. Remember, a problem shared is half solved. Number 2, about introverts. So this one is for introvert. Be what you are as an introvert, but remember to just reach out a little more. Do not become the dramatist, the extreme extrovert. No, but just remember that in your own way, try to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. I remember, as I mentioned earlier on, that when I was working for Shell Europe in Aberdeen, Scotland, Tom Botts was our CEO, and we invited him to do a talk to us young professionals then. And he said that he asked us, "What do you think I am, extrovert or introvert?" We said we thought extrovert. He said, "No, I'm introvert," but he said, because I'm CEO, I have to come out of my cocoon a little bit. Then later on, I go back to my comfort zone. So this is very important. Charles Zimba is asking, how do we? Is that the same one? Good one. How important are extracurricular activities in college? I think, okay, I'll talk about that, Charles Zimba. Is that same, I guess, my friend? Yeah, extracurricular activities. Thank you. Extracurricular. Good to see Charles Zimba here, my friend and the entrepreneur. Maybe we should be. I think in the next webinar we should involve you. Charles graduated, from Poly, but very young. He's already done very well in industry as an entrepreneur and civil engineer. How did I manage to move from bachelor's to PhD? I'll talk about that. Yeah. So as an introvert, try to stretch yourself a little bit. And then please share the self-awareness. We'll share in the slide. It will come from the slides that we will do that. Are we planning to organize for those already in campus? We will definitely do that. So there's 2 questions remaining here: extracurricular and moving from BSc to PhD. I'll start with moving to PhD. So what happened was that at Poly, I was pretty lucky that in second year, I got the highest marks in the whole faculty of engineering, and I got a letter from the dean of engineering, and that gave me the belief that I was doing pretty well. Then also I was doing the student politics, the leadership. That was building my CV. That was quite enriched. And so in 5th year, I remember that Professor David Rubadil was our vice chancellor, and because I was in the union, he was my friend. He was my referee. I was applying for studies in the UK, and he encouraged me to apply for the top university like Cambridge or Oxford. And then one day I saw the advert for Rhodes Scholarship, which is one of the most respected scholarships in the world for students to go to Oxford. For our constituencies, Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, Swaziland, Malawi, 5 countries, they pick one person every year under the age of 25. So I applied for it, and luckily I was given the scholarship in 2001, going 2002. So 2002, I was to go to Oxford, and the scholarship was for 3 years. So when I went to Oxford, there was an option that for those who have honors degree with first class, they could be given a chance to do 9 months of what they call the probationary research student, and if they do well in that one, then they could just continue with that to the PhD. Now, my thinking was that I could do the most with the 3 years of funding to complete my PhD in 3 years without doing the master. So I gambled. I went, and then my lecturers from Poly argued that although the degree was not honors, but that I was doing extremely well, that I could cope with the academic pressure at that level. So that recommendation was accepted in Oxford, and then I I did the probationary research student in 9 months, and I had to submit my project. Then I had an oral examination on my dissertation at 9 months. It was accepted, and then they said proceed with what they are doing. And then I compressed it within 3 years. I was finishing my thesis with more than 10 publications, and I was invited for my viva. I defended my thesis, and I got it. It's about power of determination. If you determine, because I wanted to finish it quickly and be done. So by the age of 27, I was a PhD, and then I got a job with Shell. So it helped me to quickly be done with education. By the age of 27, work with Shell. At the age of 30, I was back to Malawi because I wanted to come back to Malawi. The last question was from Charles Semba Zimba asking, what about extracurricular activities? It's very important. Um, uh, to do extracurricular activities in college. Do not just come out as a Jack who was a studious, a student only memorizing formulas, writing good essays. You need to do things beyond class. Join clubs and societies. Join your church. Interact with friends. Set up a youth initiative. Go outreach. Go and inspire students in secondary school. Look, I have the experience that I'm sharing with you because I've been there ahead of you. You're also ahead of others. Go to secondary schools, teach secondary school, and inspire them about how they can go to university, or at Masongola and Zomba there, or Mulanje Secondary School, or Choro Secondary School for maths, and maybe Likuni Girls for KCN, or Katoto from Zun, and all that. So with all this, I think now will be, this is 8 o'clock. We'll be concluding unless there's any last burning question. But I think otherwise, then I would like to give thanks to you all for joining, and big thanks to Revelation. Revelation, show your face. People should know he's been the guy who has done all the technical stuff behind this for us to come closer. Yeah, that's Revelation Yirongo. He graduated 2016 at the Poly, and he's helped us to set up all this. He's been doing the technical stuff, and also Washington Chimuzu is joining remotely with some other students. He's not with us here, but Washington has been very good at helping us put together the ideas on how best this can work, resilience to make sure that this doesn't fail, and we work together organizing this. So thanks to my two colleagues, Washington Chimuza and Revelation Young, but also thanks to NBS Bank, who were co-hosting this on their Facebook page. As promised, two things we will do. One, maybe three. One, we will keep the recording of the video on my Facebook page, and also we'll share the slides. And then thirdly, we will organize another webinar for the students already in campus. Thank